After a 3-year hiatus, the Championship Tour returns to the perfect right-hand point break for stop number 9, the Corona Open J-Bay.
We are coming to you live from South Africa.
Known for clean long barrels,
Deep inside the pin.
open walls, and a canvas for absolute perfection.
He's going to go to the air again.
This is the gold standard of world-class waves.
This is going to be a good barrel.
2 surfers have clinched their spot in the WSL Final 5, and they both arrive in the yellow jersey.
This is somebody who wants a world title more than anybody.
Carissa Moore is coming straight off an event win in Brazil. Now she looks to defend her title as the 2019 Corona Open J-Bay champion.
It will be Carissa Moore's day.
Filipe Toledo has made the final in 5 of the last 6 events. With all the momentum following him from Brazil, he hopes to become 3-time J-Bay champion this week. With only 2 opportunities left to punch a ticket to Trestles, who will clinch their spot next? The fight for the WSL Final 5 rolls on, here at the Corona Open J-Bay.
I've been having this vision. I've been having this vision. Either rise or you fall. I'm on a mission, bringing my dreams to fruition. I ain't playing at all. Bring out the body bags. I'm about to kill them, deliver them to the mortician. I gotta do what I gotta do. That's for my face, back in my face. I gotta do what I gotta do. I bring it down. He never came. I'ma do me. I'ma do me. That's in my blood. I'll never change. That's in my blood. I'll never change. That's in my blood. I'll never change.
Here we go, day 1 of the event window for the Corona J-Bay Open. It is stop number 9 on the Championship Tour, and we are thrilled to be back here on the Eastern Cape of South Africa, coming to you live on what is another beautiful morning here in South Africa. Ronnie Blakey, joined by Rosy Hodge and Peter Mel. 3 years, it's too long. We need more J-Bay, and finally we're back, Rosie, and I'm sure you're loving being back home.
This is the first time I've been back in 3 years. Home soil feels so good. Over our shoulder, one of the best right-hand point breaks on the entire planet.
The best. Let's not beat around the bush here. Pete, great to see you, mate. I know you're buzzing to be back here.
Yeah, it's so good to see both of you guys and be back here at J-Bay. I mean, this is a place that we all dream of as surfers, as regular foots, and getting to be here once again with a forecast that we have, things are positive.
Coming into the final 2 events of the season, usually we'd be talking requalification, but this year the conversation is all about the race to the WSL Final 5. We're going to be touching on that race in just a moment, but right now we're going to find out what's happening this morning. We're going to check in with Laura Enova, who's down there with Travis Logie.
Good morning, everybody. It is a beautiful morning here at Jeffreys Bay. I'm here with Travis Logie from Tours and Competition. Trav, how good is it to be back here in J-Bay?
Oh, it's amazing, Laura. I might be a bit biased, but this is my favourite stop on tour. So good to be back with a really promising forecast. Really excited.
And what do we have on our offer today?
Well, we're going to go on hold until about 11:15 for a possible 11:35 a.m. start. We've already seen more action in the lineup than we saw at first light, so it's looking really promising. All reports from down the coast are the swell's on its way, so we'll check back in at 11:15.
And everyone's talking about this promising swell forecast. What do you guys see? Obviously, don't want to jinx anything, but it looks like it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it looks really, really good. Tomorrow and Thursday looks unbelievable, so hopefully it all pans out like it's supposed to, and we're going to have a great event. Absolutely amazing. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Laura. Great to see Travis down here. He'll be making the calls, but loving his time. And as he said, a promising forecast. For you, Pete, the Surfline forecast, it's like a storybook that you read before you go to bed. Sometimes this year, that story's been a bit of a nightmare scenario, but this year, it's a fairy tale, and it's looking really promising for these first few days.
So true. I mean, this is one of the most active places on the planet during this time of the year, and sure enough, we're getting that. Look at the big purple blobs that are heading towards J-Bay. That is good news for the forecast. The next 4 days look like there's going to be good winds and big swell, which is exactly what you want to see.
Remember that year that we were here and the boat rode the wave?
Yes.
Are we seeing waves in that kind of height zone?
Yes, we are. Well, I mean, pretty much you look at the forecast for today, that's why we're going to wait it out, because we're going to start to see it kind of build through the afternoon. But look at this. I mean, very good, fair to good, fair. Either way, it's going to be, overhead and peeling long right-hand point break.
It doesn't need a lot of swell, Rosie, to show its magic, J-Bay, but we're going to get blessed with a whole lot of action, and it's going to really change up who the favourites might be at this venue. You must be looking forward to watching it all roll in.
I love it. I mean, we're going to have a buffet of swell on offer. We're going to gorge ourselves, but it is fun to track the swell. I mean, you'll be watching Cape St. Francis, seeing that swell arrive. So, it's only a matter of hours, like Travis said, until that pulls into the point.
Well, let's start talking about that final 5 picture. We mentioned it before. There is 5 spots, but there is actually only 4 now up for grabs because we've had a couple of competitors lock their places in. They are the surfers in the yellow jerseys at the moment, Filipe Toledo and Carissa Moore. What a season Toledo is having. It's just been remarkable. He's been in 5 of the last 6 finals and had a couple of wins now. Yeah, winning at Bells Beach, winning on Hope Turf in Rio. You can tell the win in Rio was really meaningful to him though. I think what's interesting too, Peter, on the men's side in particular, you know, there's a lot of new names in the mix when you look back on what unfolded at Trestles last year. All of those surfers that we had high expectations for are now sitting right there in that final 5 cut line, you know, and there's surfers behind that are going to be right in there trying to get into that spot, like Kanoa Igarashi, Callum Robson, you know, 2 surfers that can surf really good out here. So it's going to be exciting to see how this final 5 picture pans out here at J-Bay. Yeah, with those incredibly dominant performances this season, Filipe and Carissa managed to clinch their spots over at Rio. Let's see how they were feeling after finding out they're going to be part of that charge for a world title once again.
Filipe Toledo, congratulations. You just clinched your spot in the WSL Final 5. How are you feeling?
Oh, shoot. It's I don't know. It's crazy. You know, like after, you know, like all the events and all the results and everything, it's, you know, all the hard work and leaving family behind and you know, like all the things that we have to sacrifice. Yeah, man, over the moon, yeah.
At the Rip Curl WSL Finals at Trestles. How is that all landing on you right now?
Well, I didn't know it was possible here, but I'm really, really stoked. That's really cool. That takes some pressure off. That's awesome. Sweet. You can see it means a lot to the competitors, but clinching your spot in the final 5 is one thing. Maintaining those positions as the #1 seed going into that world title event, Rosie, that's huge. That's huge. I mean, I know for Carissa coming off that world title last season, she knows the opportunity that's in her hands right now if she maintains that #1 spot. Yeah, and for Toledo, Pete, he's very aware of that situation. Once you get to the surf hole for the world title, you want to be that #1 seed. You want to conserve that energy and let the field have the stress of making that final exchange. So true. I mean, and we saw it for our first time last year at the Rip Curl WSL Finals, how important it was to have that #1 seed. And again, these guys are going to have to be holding that spot so that they can save their energy. They can watch what's happening, what's getting scored, coming all the way to that point. I mean, the way it works is 5 has to serve against 4 and all the way up to 1, and then you have to beat the #1 seed 3 times or 2 times out of 3, which means, you know, that #1 seed, absolutely the best thing you could have. Yeah, the job's not done for those 2 just yet, and they're going to be very focused going into these final 2 events of the season. There's so much to talk about when you consider the men's heat draw, because we've got the return of some of the big names, event winners this season, and also, of course, the inclusion of some amazing local wildcards. Welcome back to the show. We are going to be on hold until 11:15 a.m, potentially getting underway at 11:35. So we'll keep you updated on that at worldsurfleague.com. But right now we're enjoying a beautiful sunrise here at Jeffreys Bay, and it's giving us the opportunity to really dive into some of the big stories this year. And when you think about this men's event, it's going to be incredible to watch it unfold, because I mentioned before the break, we've got some competitors making a return after some injuries. Kelly Slater, Barron Mamiya, looking forward to seeing what he can do at Jeffreys Bay. And we've also got some local wildcards, which is going to be fantastic to watch, Pete. It is so cool. I like the mix of these wildcards in these last few events, being that they have nothing to lose and they're up against the top seeds, and they're very important heats happening. We've seen it time and time again. Those wildcards be really exciting. Yeah, I guess the other big thing is, Rosie, last year in a shortened year, a tricky year, we didn't get the opportunity to come here to Jeffreys Bay. So there's been some new additions to the Championship Tour that haven't had that opportunity. And when you think about the men's ratings and where surfers are situated, there's some rookies with a really good chance at getting themselves into that final 5 picture. Definitely. I mean, looking at Callum Robson, he's been so impressive. Making the final at Bells Beach, he has this quiet, just steady belief in himself that has been such a huge advantage for him on the Championship Tour in his rookie season. Yeah, so headstrong. Had that amazing victory at Snapper Rocks in the Challenger Series event there. So you'd fancy his chances. Kanoa Igarashi Pete, he missed out. It was heartbreak for him at the Rip Curl WSL Finals last year. He wasn't in the picture, but he's right there in striking distance, and he's had a big semi-final finish here before.
I love 4, 5, and 6 on this rankings right here. These are the 3 young guys that have all been vying for that world title, having to work through the ranks, but this is their year. If they can get themselves into that final 5, I mean, think about Griffin Colapinto at his home break at Trestles.
Ethan Ewing too has had magic moments already this season on that forehand, and you'd like his chances here at Jeffreys Bay if it shows its true colours. Filipe Toledo, though, we've got to talk about this dominant run that he's been on. Of the last 6 events, he's been in 5 finals, 2 victories now, well ahead of the pack, and by far setting the standard for what is the best surfing that we're seeing on tour this year.
Definitely, but when you look at those finals, he's only won 2 of them, and I think the ones that he has let slip through his fingers stung a lot. So he's surfing with a lot of heart at the moment. He's been so consistent throughout the season, and good to see him on the podium in Rio.
Pete, his performances here are legendary at Jeffreys Bay. He's gone back-to-back before. He's taken you to a whole new octave with his aerial surfing, and there's a good chance he'll do it again.
I've been trying to keep it a little lower octave going into it, but sometimes it just comes out. But I mean, what he's been able to do, I think there's a little, I mean, I don't know if he's actually weighs more, but he's surfing with a more of a heavier foot. And it's not really slowing him down. He's actually still at the same pace, but with so much more spray and just there's no hitch in his rails, so he can get numbers without going to the air, yet he is still so accomplished that he has that weapon in his arsenal all the time.
Look at this first round heat for Filipe as well, up against a couple of goofy footers, and they are both very strong goofy footers. Jose Faulkner, he's a great story. We're going to be watching him closely. He has big backside air reverses. Nat Young has that power he can call on, but Felipe's got the edge on both these guys out here.
He's won multiple times out here. I mean, looking at his track record, looking at the confidence, already clinching his spot in the WSL Final 5, the guy's coming in red hot.
Kelly Slater's making his return. He's the most winning surfer here at Jeffreys Bay. 4 victories, Pete. What do you think Kelly's motivation will be for the contest looking at this forecast?
I would say the forecast is what got him here. I think, he probably sped himself up through that injury. I know he was surfing through a lot of it, just, he's taking it easy, but ultimately, he gets up in his demeanor when the forecast is up. I mean, this could be classic J-Bay, so you'd love his chances. I mean, this is Kelly Slater.
Had that amazing win at Pipe, but even though he hasn't banked a big result since, the big talk has been how well Kelly is surfing on the open face. His turns have looked really strong this year, and his equipment on point.
So true, and I think that's something that he's carrying, and he knows that he's surfing at a level that he can still win events, and he wouldn't be here if it wasn't the case.
We know Felipe's been dominating on the men's side, but on the women's side, the race for the Final 5, it's a lot closer, and there's a lot of surfers still in the mix. We're going to have a look at that right after the break. Welcome back to the show. Ronnie here with Rosy and Pete, breaking things down on day 1 of the event window here at the Corona. J-Bay Open, what an event this has been over the years. It's given us some classic moments. It's great to have the women here back on the tour, and it's the 3rd year in recent history that we've had the event unfolding here. And I mentioned before the break that the race for the Final 5 on the women's side, it's a lot closer, and there's some surfers who are entering the mix here, Rosie, that have a great shot at causing some major upsets. Caroline Marks in particular, for me, that incredible backhand as the lowest seed. She's going to be taking on some of those title contenders.
Yeah, we saw in El Salvador, throw the spanner in the works for a lot of the surfers, and it's so fun to watch this women's tour unfold because we've had different winners at each stop that we've had this season.
Now, let's have a look at the rankings now for the women, Pete. Pretty tight up there at the top end, and there's some surfers really looking to defend that great position in the Final 5. Brisa Hennessy had a magic start to the year, but she's kind of been slipping down the ratings in the last few events.
Yeah, those last few events were not great results. I mean, she needs to be quarters and above really to sustain that Final 5 spot. But you look behind, Tatiana-Weston Webb with that win. She's going to be coming up that rankings, obviously coming to a place that she would love here. But back there, Isabella Nichols, Gabrielle Bryant, Courtney Conlog, they're all pretty close as far as points go. They're still, 30,000, and so a win is 10,000 points, 2,200 points below that second, so there's abilities to gain a lot of ground.
Most definitely, and great to see Lakey Peterson back in that top end of the rankings, because she had that devastating injury last year. It's been a great recovery for her.
Oh, totally. I mean, watching Lakey's form in El Salvador, making that final with Stephanie Gilmore, so good to see her at 100%. You know, when I'm looking at those rankings, I'm seeing someone like Gabriella Bryant. I think she's going to be so dangerous. Another rookie on tour that's making her mark in a big way.
Yeah, that's so true, and she's going to be Rookie of the Year. She's absolutely nailed it this year. But yeah, look, keep an eye on Lakey. 2 wins here in the last couple of seasons, so she'll be fun to watch. But Carissa Moore, much like Filipe on the men's side, has had a number of finals this year. Only the one victory at the last stop, but legendary 2019, her performance here just has that power, Pete, and the ability to just hold that rail from top to bottom.
Yeah, it's not going to be very hard for her to be able to pick up big numbers just by surfing solid and how she surfs. You know, she doesn't need to overextend herself because her numbers are going to come just from how she surfs. Beautiful top to bottom here. It's about connecting the wave from the top of the point all the way down to the bottom and not making any mistakes, because, you know, a lot of talk about how to surf this wave specifically is that it showcases flaws and flow, and it definitely looks bad if you aren't connecting at all, whereas Carissa doesn't have any problems with that.
Yeah, and she always taps into the mind and knowledge of a local surfer. She's done that again here this year. But have a look at the matchups in this opening round. On the women's side, it's so compressed, this tour, Rosie, that the first round is always so exciting.
It's so exciting, and just to see that the #1 surfer in each of those heats skips straight to the quarterfinals, there's a huge incentive to win that first heat.
Well, you look at Heat 4, that for me is the one heat. Lakey, Tatiana, and Tyler. You know, Tyler coming back into competition again here, and she obviously can surf J-Bay incredibly well. So, I mean, final 5 surfers in that heat, whew, that's a tough one.
It's going to be a fantastic race here at stop number 9 for the women. Plenty more to come on the morning show. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment. Great scenes there from the opening ceremony of the Corona Open J-Bay just yesterday, and we had the press conference as well. And the reoccurring theme, Rosie, that kept coming up for people, other than the wave, of course, here is the people, and they make the surfers feel so welcome. There's a real magic to the locals here.
I love it. I love being home. It's not lost on me that I grew up in such a special place, and just to be back in this atmosphere, just feeling all of this energy and watching everyone enjoy what I grew up in is so special for me.
These are the original custodians of the land. They looked after these waterways. They still do, Pete. And yeah, we're lucky enough to come here and enjoy it.
It's been cool to see each and every event. We do get to celebrate the Indigenous folks from each and every venue we go to. And this is nothing but special. I mean, again, people are awesome here. It's one of the best parts of coming to J-Bay.
Yeah, and the sunrises, I think, you can't find a better one, basically. It's just a special place to watch that sun pop up, and you know, it sheds light on the conditions. Unfortunately, this morning that swell hasn't arrived just yet, but we've still been enjoying watching the competitors get familiar with this wave, get those warm-ups in. Rosie, who's been standing out for you the last couple of days?
Oh, wow. I mean, we saw Jack Robbo early this morning get a great wave out here. I think, you know, Carissa Moore, loves seeing what she's bringing, always the form on these right-hand point breaks. So, yeah, I just think all these surfers getting a taste for it. I love watching the free surfs unfold. Yeah,
Jack Robinson, Courtney Conlog, I think they've been spending more time out in this lineup, just on these smaller days than just about any other surfer. But, Pete, it's a big trip here to South Africa, but when we look at this vision, it's a lot quicker. We're going to check out the virtual eye and get a bit of an idea of where we are in the world at the moment. And,
you know, even though it is a long trek, it's all worth it. Every time we get here, all the way after our 30 hours of trekking across the globe, but you get to this part of the world, and it literally is a facet of just amazing surf. I mean, we're at the bottom here. You've got this huge coastline that allows for, the swells to hit here. And this one's very special because it tucks itself in here. We've got some shallow water outside of here that pulls that swells that are moving from the westerly direction, that pulls them into J-Bay here. It is one of the most sought after waves in the world. And the reason being, those predominant winds you get blow offshore. It's this beautiful offshore conditions. And of course, look at the length of the point. I mean, it's just this massively long, beautiful point break that is just a canvas that you dream of.
Yeah, it holds a fair amount of swell too, Rosie.
It definitely does. I mean, and that's what we're going to see, Thursday, Friday, that swell really start to jack, and just how it pulls in, like Pete said, from that westerly direction. A bunch of takeoff spots there. Obviously, Super Tubes is the main break that we'll be focusing on throughout this competition, but you can, free surf up and down this location.
Yeah, I love it. We've seen some magic performances over the years. I think we can look forward to more of that this season. We've seen incredible backhand performances here, especially when the surf gets bigger. So I think we can look forward to some of those goofy footers featuring heavily in this contest. But it's just going to be a lot of fun to watch it all go down. Well,
we saw it last year. The last time the event ran, 2 goofy footers were in the final. So it does happen. But I would say that you've got some regular footers that are going to try and change that history.
Well, we're going to make a call at 11:15 a.m. for a potential 11:35 start. In the meantime, check out worldsurfleague.com for all the updates. We'll see you soon.